You've been searching for love in all the wrong places, not because you're broken, but because no one told you what love really is. Deep down, you sense there's something more. Beyond the romantic movies, beyond the fairy tales of perfect partners and happily ever afters. You're right, there is more, much more. Carl Jung knew a profound truth about love that most people aren't ready to hear. True love isn't about finding your other half. It's about becoming whole within yourself first. And that journey will break your heart open in ways you never expected. You see, you were taught that love means finding someone to complete you, to fill your emptiness, to make you feel worthy and wanted. That's not love. That's emotional hunger masquerading as connection. Real love begins when you stop trying to use other people as bandages for your wounds. Remember how it felt in those relationships that seemed so promising at first? The intense attraction, the feeling of finally being understood, the dream of lasting happiness. But slowly, painfully, the dream would crack. Your partner couldn't meet your deepest needs. Your own insecurities and fears would surface. The fairy tale would dissolve into arguments, distance, or quiet desperation. It wasn't your fault. You were following a script written by a world that doesn't understand love's true nature, a world that sells romance as the solution to your loneliness, that teaches you to seek outside yourself what can only be found within. The pain you felt in love, the abandonment, the rejection, the heartbreak, it all stems from one core misunderstanding. You've been seeking in others what you haven't yet found in yourself. Your relationships become mirrors reflecting back your own unhealed wounds, your own unloved parts, your own unfaced shadows. This is where Jung's wisdom becomes revolutionary. He saw that our desperate search for love often masks a deeper calling, the soul's longing to become whole. The people we're intensely drawn to, the ones who trigger our strongest emotions, they're not actually our missing pieces. They're messengers showing us the parts of ourselves we've lost connection with. That perfect partner you've been dreaming of. They're a projection of your own divine nature, your own inner magic that you haven't yet claimed. The love you seek isn't waiting in someone else's heart. It's buried in the depths of your own psyche, waiting to be discovered. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This applies powerfully to love. Until you face your own inner darkness, your neediness, your fears, your tendency to abandon yourself, you'll keep creating relationships that reflect these unconscious patterns. Think about your past relationships. Notice how similar themes keep emerging, how you're drawn to people who trigger the same old wounds. That's not coincidence. Your psyche is trying to heal itself through these encounters. Each heartbreak is an invitation to look deeper, to love yourself more completely. The world taught you that self-love is selfish, that putting yourself first means being alone. But Jung understood that true love can only flow from wholeness. When you learn to parent your inner child, to embrace your shadow, to honor your own soul's journey, that's when real love becomes possible. This isn't about becoming perfect before you can love. It's about becoming real, about having the courage to show up as you are, to feel what you feel, to know what you know. It's about ending the exhausting performance of trying to be lovable and finally allowing yourself to simply be. Remember those moments when you abandoned your own truth to keep someone else happy? When you silenced your intuition because you were afraid of being alone? When you gave and gave until you felt hollow inside? That wasn't love. That was fear wearing love's costume. Jung observed that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But this transformation can only be healthy when both people are willing to face themselves honestly, when both are committed to their own wholeness. True love isn't about finding someone who will never trigger you. It's about finding someone who will grow with you through the triggering. Someone who will stand with you in the fire of transformation, who will witness your unfolding without trying to fix or change you. This is where relationships become spiritual practice. Each conflict becomes an opportunity to heal. Each misunderstanding invites deeper understanding. Each moment of vulnerability allows love to enter more fully. But this only works when both partners understand that their primary relationship is with their own soul. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In love, this means facing your own capacity for jealousy, possessiveness, and manipulation. It means acknowledging how you've used relationships to avoid yourself, how you've projected your own unlived potential onto others. You've been taught that love means merging, losing yourself in another. But true love is a dance of sovereignty. It's two whole beings choosing to share their wholeness, not two half people desperately clinging to each other for completion. This is why the greatest love affair of your life must be with your own soul. Not in a narcissistic way, but in the way a gardener tends to precious seeds, knowing that only with patient attention will they blossom fully. When you begin this inner love affair, something magical happens. You stop attracting people who want to use you to fill their emptiness. You stop being drawn to those who can't meet you in your depth. Your relationships become less about need and more about celebration. Jung understood that where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. This means that true love can only exist between equals, not in status or achievement, but in self-knowledge and emotional maturity. Think about how different your relationships would be if you approached them from wholeness instead of hunger. If you could offer love without demanding anything in return. If you could stay true to yourself while allowing others to be exactly who they are. This is the love that Jung pointed to, not the fantasy romance of popular culture, but the profound meeting of souls who have done their inner work. People who have faced their shadows, who have learned to parent their inner children, who have made peace with their own complexity. The journey to this kind of love isn't easy. It will ask you to face every part of yourself you've tried to hide. It will challenge your beliefs about what relationships should look like. It will demand a level of emotional honesty that may feel frightening at first. But consider the alternative. Consider continuing to seek in others what you haven't found in yourself. Consider spending more years in relationships that reflect your wounds rather than your wisdom. Consider the cost of not answering love's deeper calling. Jung reminded us that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is what real love supports, not the maintenance of comfortable illusions, but the courageous journey of becoming fully yourself. Your task now isn't to find the right person. It's to become the right person, right with yourself, right with your truth, right with your soul's purpose. From that place of inner alignment, love becomes not a need, but a natural overflow of your own wholeness. This doesn't mean you'll never feel lonely or want partnership. It means you'll approach relationships from a place of fullness rather than scarcity. You'll be able to offer love without losing yourself, to stay connected to your truth while opening your heart to another. The love you've been seeking has been within you all along, waiting patiently for you to turn inward and discover it. Every heartbreak has been guiding you home to yourself. Every relationship has been teaching you how to love more authentically, more completely. Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." This is the fundamental shift that transforms how you experience love. The shift from seeking completion in others to discovering the love that already lives within you. This is your invitation to love differently, to love from wholeness rather than wound, to create relationships that support growth rather than enable escape, to discover that the greatest romance of all is the one between your conscious mind and your soul. The world may not understand this path. It may try to convince you that you're being too demanding, too deep, too different in what you seek and love. But your heart knows the truth. It knows that real love isn't about finding someone to rescue you from yourself. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs rescuing. Your journey to true love begins here, in this moment, with the choice to turn toward yourself with the same devotion you've been seeking from others. To promise yourself that you'll no longer abandon your truth for connection, that you'll no longer sacrifice your wholeness for acceptance. This is the love that Jung spoke of, not the kind that completes you, but the kind that reveals you to yourself. Not the kind that saves you, but the kind that helps you save yourself. Not the kind that ends loneliness, but the kind that helps you make friends with your own solitude. You are ready for this love, ready to meet yourself with new eyes, ready to discover that the partner you've been seeking has been within you all along, waiting for you to come home to yourself. This is where true love begins, not in the arms of another, but in the quiet revolution of your own heart coming home to itself. Everything else flows from there. Think about how your relationships might change when you finally understand this truth. When you stop expecting others to be your source of happiness, your reason for feeling complete. When you realize that true love isn't about finding someone who never triggers you, but about finding someone who helps you grow through the triggering. Jung knew that our most intense attractions often point to our deepest wounds, that person who seems to light up your entire world. They're activating something that's already within you. The electricity you feel isn't their power. It's your own life force recognizing itself in another form. But here's where most people get lost. They mistake that recognition for dependency. They think, I need this person to feel alive, when really that aliveness they're feeling is their own essence being awakened. The other person is just the key that unlocked a door within you. This is why so many relationships that start with intense passion end in equally intense pain. You're not actually losing the other person. You're losing connection with that awakened part of yourself that they helped you access. And until you learn to access it on your own, you'll keep creating relationships of dependency rather than true love. Jung observed that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Think about your past relationships, the ways they frustrated you, disappointed you, seemed to fail you. What if those weren't failures at all? What if they were precise mirrors showing you where you needed to grow? That partner who couldn't commit, they were showing you where you haven't committed to yourself. The one who couldn't understand your emotional needs, they were reflecting how you haven't fully understood or honored your own feelings. The one who betrayed your trust, they were highlighting where you've betrayed yourself. This isn't about blaming yourself for others' actions. It's about recognizing that your relationships are always showing you something about yourself. They're invitations to deeper self-knowledge, to more complete self-love. When you begin to see relationships this way, everything changes. You stop looking for someone to complete you and start looking for someone who can accompany you on your journey of completion. You stop trying to fix others and start focusing on your own growth. Jung understood that real love emerges when two people commit to their own individuation, their own journey of becoming whole. It's not about losing yourself in the other person. It's about finding yourself more completely through the relationship. Think about how different dating would be if you approached it from this perspective. Instead of asking, "Are they the one?" you might ask, "What part of myself am I meeting through this person?" Instead of wondering, "Will they hurt me?" you might explore, "What am I afraid of learning about myself?" This shift changes everything. Suddenly, relationships become classrooms for self-discovery rather than sources of validation. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for growth rather than a test of your worthiness. Remember those moments when you felt most alive in love, when your heart seemed to expand beyond its usual boundaries? That wasn't just about the other person. That was you touching your own capacity for joy, for connection, for aliveness. The other person was the catalyst, but the experience was yours. Jung said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." In relationships, the greatest tragedy is the unlived potential we abandon in our pursuit of security and comfort. We settle for less than what our hearts truly desire because we're afraid of our own magnitude. But what if real love is about expanding into that magnitude together? What if it's about creating a space where both people can become more fully themselves? Where growth isn't threatening, but exciting. Where change is welcomed rather than feared. This kind of love requires tremendous courage. It asks you to stay present when every instinct tells you to run, to speak your truth when silence feels safer, to keep your heart open when all your old wounds are screaming to close it. But consider what becomes possible when you love this way, when you stop using relationships to hide from yourself and start using them to discover yourself. When you stop trying to control love and start allowing it to transform you. Jung believed that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But this transformation can only happen when both people are willing to be changed by the encounter, when both are committed to truth over comfort, growth over security. This is why self-knowledge is so crucial for love. The more you understand your own patterns, triggers, and wounds, the less likely you are to project them onto others. The more you accept your own complexity, the more space you can hold for someone else's. Think about the relationships in your life right now. Are you using them to grow or to hide? Are they expanding your sense of self or limiting it? Are they bringing you closer to your truth or further from it? These aren't comfortable questions, but they're necessary ones. Because true love isn't about comfort. It's about completion. Not completion through another person, but completion through the journey that relationship invites you to take. Jung reminded us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In love, this means understanding that your patterns in relationships aren't random. They're precise reflections of your inner world, your beliefs about love, your wounds around intimacy. When you begin to make these patterns conscious, you gain the power to change them. You can start choosing partners from wisdom rather than wound. You can start creating relationships that support your growth rather than suppress it. This is the love that Jung pointed to. Not the kind that completes you, but the kind that challenges you to complete yourself. Not the kind that saves you, but the kind that empowers you to save yourself. Not the kind that ends your loneliness, but the kind that helps you make peace with your own solitude. You are ready for this love, ready to meet yourself with new eyes, ready to create relationships that reflect your wholeness rather than your wounds, ready to discover that the love you've been seeking has been within you all along, waiting for you to come home to yourself. This is where true love begins, not in the arms of another, but in the quiet revolution of your own heart coming home to itself. Everything else flows from there, and when you finally understand this, when you finally stop seeking in others what can only be found within, that's when real love becomes possible. Not the kind of love that needs constant reassurance. Not the kind that disappears when challenges arise, but the kind that grows stronger through difficulty, that deepens through honesty, that expands through freedom. This is your invitation to love differently, to love from wholeness rather than wound, to create relationships that support growth rather than enable escape, to discover that the greatest romance of all is the one between your conscious mind and your soul. The world may not understand this path. It may try to convince you that you're being too demanding, too deep, too different in what you seek in love. But your heart knows the truth. It knows that real love isn't about finding someone to rescue you from yourself. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs rescuing. Your journey to true love begins here, in this moment, with the choice to turn toward yourself with the same devotion you've been seeking from others, to promise yourself that you'll no longer abandon your truth for connection, that you'll no longer sacrifice your wholeness for acceptance. This is the love that Jung spoke of, not the kind that completes you, but the kind that reveals you to yourself, not the kind that saves you, but the kind that helps you save yourself, not the kind that ends loneliness, but the kind that helps you make friends with your own solitude. The time has come to love differently, to love more deeply, to love from a place of wholeness rather than need. Your heart has been preparing for this moment all along. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment of loneliness has been leading you here to the threshold of real love. Step through. Your true self is waiting. When you finally embrace this deeper understanding of love, something profound begins to shift. The desperate search ends. The constant anxiety about finding the one dissolves. You start to feel a peace you've never known before. Not because you found perfect love outside yourself, but because you finally recognized it within. Jung understood that this inner marriage, this union with your own soul, is the foundation for all authentic relationships. Without it, we're just acting out our wounds, repeating patterns, seeking in others what we haven't yet found in ourselves. Think about how your life might change when you stop treating love as something to achieve and start experiencing it as something you already are. When you no longer need someone else to validate your worth or prove your lovability. When you can stand fully in your own truth, offering love not from need, but from overflow. This doesn't mean you'll never feel lonely or want partnership, but it does mean you'll stop using relationships as escape routes from yourself. You'll stop compromising your truth for connection. You'll stop settling for less than what your heart truly desires. Remember those moments when you felt most alive, most connected to yourself? That's not just a feeling. It's your true nature revealing itself. It's love in its purest form, before the world taught you to seek it elsewhere. That aliveness is always available to you, not dependent on anyone else's presence or approval. Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." This clarity comes when you finally stop running from your own depths, when you dare to face the parts of yourself you've been hiding, when you begin to trust the wisdom of your own soul. This is where real love stories begin, not in the dramatic meetings or romantic gestures, but in the quiet moments of coming home to yourself, in the courage to feel your feelings fully, to honor your boundaries, to speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Think about the quality of love that becomes possible when you're no longer using relationships to fill a void, when you can offer presence without demanding perfection, when you can stay open-hearted even in the face of uncertainty. This is the love that transforms rather than tranquilizes, the love that awakens rather than anesthetizes, the love that Jung pointed to when he spoke about the marriage of conscious and unconscious, the sacred union of opposing forces within the psyche. Your task now isn't to make yourself more lovable. It's to remove the barriers you've built against the love that's already there, to dissolve the false beliefs that keep you seeking outside yourself, to remember what you've always known in your depths, that love is not something you find, but something you are. As you embrace this truth, watch how your relationships transform. Notice how you attract different kinds of connections. See how you naturally move away from situations that diminish you and toward those that celebrate your wholeness. This is the journey Jung invited us to take, not the search for perfect love, but the path to becoming more fully ourselves. Because when we dare to be who we truly are, we naturally attract experiences that reflect our authenticity. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to begin. You don't need to heal every wound before you can love. You just need to commit to your own truth, to stay faithful to your own heart's knowing, to keep choosing growth over comfort. This is your invitation to a new way of loving, to relationships that honor both connection and sovereignty, to partnerships that support evolution rather than enforce stagnation, to a love that doesn't confine you, but sets you free. Remember, the greatest love story of your life is the one you're writing with your own soul. Everything else is a beautiful, temporary reflection of that eternal romance. When you understand this, you'll stop seeking love and start embodying it. Your heart has always known this truth. It's been waiting for you to listen, to trust, to remember. The time has come to love as you were meant to love, freely, fully, fearlessly. Not because you've found the right person, but because you've become the right person. This is your legacy of love. Not a desperate search for completion, but a courageous journey of becoming. Not a story of finding someone to save you, but a story of saving yourself through the power of your own heart's wisdom. Let this be your new beginning. Let every breath be a reminder that love lives within you, that it's your natural state, your true home. Let every relationship be an opportunity to know yourself more deeply, to love more fully, to live more authentically. The world needs this kind of love now more than ever. Not the superficial romance of fairy tales, but the deep, transformative love that Jung understood. The kind that changes us from the inside out, that makes us more fully human, more fully alive. You are ready for this love. You always have been. Everything in your life has been preparing you for this moment of recognition, this return to your own heart's truth. Trust it. Follow it. Let it lead you home. This is where your true love story begins, not in the future, not in someone else's arms, but here and now, in the quiet certainty of your own heart coming home to itself. Everything else is just a beautiful bonus to the love you already are. Remember, you were born for this kind of love. It's your birthright, your true nature, your deepest calling. The time has come to claim it, to live it, to be it. Let love begin with you.